In the criminal justice system, deputy district attorneys represent the people. The prosecutors you are about to see and the cases they try are real. Nothing has been reenacted.
Your Honor, the next matter is from page 4, Kayser.
Your Honor, Mrs. Kayser killed a 13-year-old young man who was walking home along with some friends and relatives. Mrs. Kayser had been drinking at a bar called the Pit Stop in Poway, had several beers, and apparently was on her way home and not too far from the bar when she struck Andrew. In fact, she struck him so hard that he flew 54 feet through the air before he landed and came to rest 92 feet away from the point of impact. She hit him so hard that she literally knocked him out of his shoes and one sock.
Respect to bail.
Yes, Your Honor. She is 48 years old. She has absolutely no record, none whatsoever. I'd ask that, in this case, the bail be reduced to $25,000.
The people feel, obviously, that she's a threat to society, and the people ask for $100,000 bail because we think it's appropriate.
I find that $100,000 is the appropriate bond in this case, and I will set the bond at $100,000. That'll be the order of the court. Thank you. The court will be in brief recess.
She's saying she only had 4 beers, and Mr. Duff is saying that's not consistent with a 1.5.
Well, if the defense attorney is saying she had 4 beers and the blood alcohol level comes out to a 1.5, either the machine's lying or somebody else is lying.
The parents couldn't even make it here today. Can you go into what they're going through right now?
The family is very distraught about this. Of course, nobody wants to be in a position where they have to bury one of their children, and that's the position they find themselves in right now.
First News at 4.
The accident happened in Poway where a car veered into a bike path and killed a 13-year-old boy.
A teenage boy hit and killed in an instant. His death blamed on a suspected drunk driver. Stacey Baca joins us now from the county courthouse with more on today's arraignment.
Well, Marty, Renee Kayser was charged with 3 crimes today, and she pleaded not guilty to all of those charges.
Andrew's family, especially his parents, have been having such a hard time. An accident that has devastated both families.
I know that you obviously are quite angry about what happened, and I just want to make sure, we discussed this yesterday, that everybody remains calm and doesn't act out against her. We can't change the facts.
No, I can't change nothing. The fact is
we can't bring Andrew back either. And nothing we do in court is gonna accomplish that, obviously.
When will we go to trial then?
We're looking at 2 to 3 months away.
But you're not going to offer any deal, right?
Oh, no. We're not making any deals with her. We're not saying, look, if you plead guilty, we'll give you 6 months in jail. If you want to plead guilty, you're pleading guilty to everything we charged you with. And she didn't want to do that. We can just try and prove what happened and let the judge make an appropriate punishment.
Well, there's really no punishment made for somebody who took somebody else's life.
On behalf of the people. Thank you, Your Honor. On May 21st of this year, around 9:30 in the evening, Officer Rich Johnson from the San Diego Police Department received a dispatch call to go to a house on Lori Lane. He responded to that location where ultimately he contacted the defendant, Ismael Palomino. He was lawfully arrested by Officer Johnson. Before Officer Johnson left the scene with the defendant, Mr. Palomino asked Officer Johnson, he said, excuse me, officer, would you mind getting me my jacket, which is just over there up the driveway next to the garage? Officer Johnson actually put his hands inside the pockets, and there was an inside pocket. And he felt something, and he pulled it out. As he was pulling it out, he said, what's this? And he looked at it, and that item, 0.31 grams of methamphetamine. And after he pulled it out, Mr. Palomino said, and I'm quoting, "Oh, I forgot about that." And after he said, "Oh, I forgot about that," he motioned to the trash can to the officer and said, "Just go ahead and throw that away." Well, obviously, Officer Johnson, who's trained to follow procedures, didn't throw it away, or we wouldn't be here today. And at the conclusion of the trial, I will return to this spot in the courtroom and ask you jurors to return a verdict of guilty against Mr. Palomino for possession of methamphetamine. Thank you.
What happened on May 21st was that Mr. Ismael Palomino and his brother Daniel were hanging out together. They got into a fight. Daniel's Pendleton jacket was ripped off of him. His t-shirt that he was wearing was also ripped off of him. Ismael and Daniel's sister, Perla Palomino, who you'll hear from, called the police. She called the police saying, "My brother's in a fight." She describes Ismael Palomino by what he's wearing. No mention that he's wearing a Pendleton. Ismael's taken to jail. He's confronted with this methamphetamine, and he says, "Oh, I forgot about that." The evidence will show that could mean many, many different things. Doesn't necessarily mean he knew what was in the jacket or that what he was in the jacket was something that he possessed. But the evidence will show that the jacket wasn't his. It was his brother, Daniel Palomino's. And after hearing all of the evidence, I'd ask you to find him not guilty of the charge. Thank you.
When he asked for the Pendleton jacket, did he say, quote, "Can you get me my Pendleton jacket?"
He said, quote, "Can you get my Pendleton? It's over there."
And what happened?
When I opened it up, I saw that there was an inside pocket. And so I reached into the pocket, and as I was pulling it out, I pulled out an item. I said, "What's this?" and held it up and realized that it was about a 1-inch by 1-inch baggie of what appeared to be a rock-like substance or controlled substance.
And tell us, what did Mr. Palomino say after you'd pulled that item out?
He said, "Oh, I forgot about that."
And then what did he do?
He motioned with his head to a nearby trash can and said, "You can throw that away."
And obviously you didn't throw it away, correct?
Correct.
You impounded it?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
When you arrived at the scene, you never saw Ismael Palomino with the Pendleton on him, correct?
Correct.
And when you looked at the jacket, when you went and retrieved the jacket, didn't have any identification in it?
No.
Didn't have any sort of wallet in it?
No.
Didn't have any paperwork with any printed name referring to Ismael Palomino in it?
It did not.
Since you impounded the baggie, did you ever ask that it be fingerprinted?
No.
Did you handle the baggie without gloves on?
Yes.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Got it. So you think his leg hit the bumper right here, Joe?
Yeah. His buttocks right here. It's basically
because he was kind of standing with his back to it, so it hit his leg. He fell on his buttocks hit here. I don't know if he flipped or not, though.
No, he didn't flip. You can see where his buttocks here and his body came right here.
Like here's his side and shoulder area here?
Exactly.
And this is where his head hit?
Yeah.
Is that hair on there?
Yes, it is.
We are going to go forward with a preliminary hearing on Wednesday. You're welcome to be there, and if you don't want to attend, that's fine, but you're certainly welcome to be there if you'd like.
Well, I'd like to be there, but I just know how well I can control myself doing this crap, you know.
Yeah, I realize it's frustrating for all of you. You know, she has the benefit of an attorney, a judge, a court proceeding, and all that stuff, and Andrew didn't have any of it. He's gone forever. There's nothing that's going to be able to bring him back, and it's a tragic situation. And I actually kind of get tired of everybody talking about what a tragic situation. It says that 2 lives have been ruined. Well, you know, her life isn't ruined. She's going to get punished for what she did. Andrew's gone forever.
That's it. She got to see her kids grow up.
I feel for you, Mr. Winder. And having to go through this is frustrating. I understand that. So how far away was Andrew from you when he got hit by the car?
Probably at least 6 to 7 feet.
When the car went right past you, did you jump on the sidewalk by then, do you know?
I just took my foot back and I jumped back. And then he just got hit.
Okay. About it. So then you looked to your right and you didn't see Andrew turn around before he got hit then, correct?
I just seen the car before he could do nothing, he hit the car.
Okay.
You do understand that he was so far away from you, there's nothing you could do. You understand that, okay? All right.
When you approached Poway Road, did you check to see if any cars were coming before you tried to cross?
Yes, sir.
And were you crossing at an intersection or just in the middle of the block?
No, we were crossing an intersection.
You noticed the car in the street and it was drifting towards you, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now the car actually passed you then before it hit Andrew?
Yes, sir.
And you yelled something?
I said, look out, and before I could even finish my sentence, he was already hit, flying in there.
You actually saw him flying in the air?
That is correct.
And how far off the ground was he when you saw him flying?
At least 10 feet from the ground.
When the car stopped down the street past the other intersection, what did you do?
I took off after the car.
Okay, were you jogging or were you sprinting?
No, I've never ran that fast in my life.
Now, Terry, I want you to think back and tell us, when you ran up to that car, what was the first thing that you said?
You hit my friend. What are you doing?
And what did she say in response?
I hit what? She thought she hit a dog.
And did you tell her that it was your cousin or your friend that had been hit?
That is correct.
What did you tell her?
I said, you hit my friend. What are you doing? You're not supposed to drive against the white line.
And did she say anything to you after you said that?
She said, what? What? And she didn't know anything.
When you saw Andrew, how did he look?
He was just lying there lifeless.
Was he saying anything?
No.
Could you tell if he was breathing?
No.
I may have misheard you, but did you say you were crossing at an intersection?
Yeah.
What was the intersection? What streets?
It's Poway Road. It's not like an intersection. It's Poway Road right next to the street right there.
So there's not another cross street where you were crossing?
No, not right next to it.
So it really wasn't an intersection of two streets?
Not quite.
Nothing further.
Bond? Thank you, Your Honor. The people in the defense will stipulate this is the cause of death in this case and stipulate that the victim, Andrew Winder, died of blunt force head and neck injuries, which included fractures to the back and separation of the spinal cord. And he died of those injuries as a result of being hit by the car.
All right, the court finds that the evidence presented does establish probable cause and that Ms. Kayser is the person who committed each of those crimes. She'll be held to answer.
And the conditions are still imposed, Your Honor, with respect to...
Conditions are what?
2 AA meetings a week, no driving, no drinking.
Well, if she pleads guilty, you won't have to do this again. If she doesn't plead guilty, we'll do it in front of a jury.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's always...
No, I'm serious.
Well, it's her decision. It's not our decision. Well, let me tell you what's going to happen now. We bound her over. It's a legal term. She got bound over for trial, which means the judge found there's probable cause to believe that the crime was committed. At trial, we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. This is probable cause. We have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she committed the crime and we met all the elements.
Now, everybody in here knows she's guilty. I mean...
Well, when you go to trial, anything can happen. And they could find her not guilty. Yeah, but that's, you know, and I understand your frustration, Mr. Winder, and that's the way the system is set up. It's my job to prove that she's guilty, and I don't want you guys worrying about it. Well, look, why don't you guys go home, try and put the criminal trial out of your mind.
What happens if she's out drinking somewhere?
She's not allowed to drink. She's not allowed to drive.
Now, can we hire somebody, or can somebody follow her?
If you know she's drinking, let me know, and we'll get her revoked and get her bail revoked and get her thrown back in the slammer. She's only allowed to stay out because she's agreed not to drink.
Under certain guidelines,
yeah.
Correct.
And that's why I asked the judge to make sure that those conditions still apply.
See, that's what
if you know she's drinking or you know she's
you can't do a random drug test or anything like that on her because of it.
Well, no.
So we got to literally catch her red-handed doing it.
Oh, shoot, I forgot to press the button.
Telephone call to call taker.
Police emergency? Yes, my brother's, I guess he's being drunk and he's over here fighting with everybody. Okay, we're going to send an officer. What's his name? His name is Ismael. Give me a description for the officer. He's 29 on my 13. He's what? He's 29. Does he have any weapons? No. About how tall is he? He's about 5'4". He's wearing a black sweater and brown pickies. He's acting all violent.
Are you the individual who called 911?
Yes.
Can you recall what Ismael was wearing?
Black sweater and pants.
What was Daniel wearing when you saw him at 5 p.m.?
He was wearing a white muscle shirt, jacket,
What was the jacket? What did it look like?
It had like it looked like a Pendleton type.
Plaid?
Yeah.
Do you know if the Pendleton is Daniel's Pendleton?
Yes.
How do you know this?
Because my mother gave it to him for Christmas.
Are you coming into court today lying to protect Ismael?
No.
When the police came, did you direct the police to where Daniel was?
Yes, I did.
Why are you upset?
Because it's not fair for my brother Ismael.
Objection. Move to
Ladies and
strike.
gentlemen, the jury are to totally disregard the last answer and treat it as though you'd never heard of it. Next question, Ms.
I
Newman.
have nothing further, thank you.
Cross-examination.
You called the police, right?
Yes.
And it's your testimony that when the police arrived, you directed them to Daniel Palomino?
Yes, I did.
But when you called the police, you actually gave a description of your brother as being the bad guy here, didn't you?
No.
Well, you reported that your brother was drunk and he came over here fighting with everybody, correct? Is that what
I
you
said my brothers were drunk.
And they said, we're going to send an officer, and they asked you what his name was, and you said, his name is Ismael Palomino, right?
Yes.
Now, when you said Ismael Palomino, you're talking about your brother who's here in court today,
Yes.
right? You called the police to report your brother involved in some conduct, right?
My brothers.
No, your brother Ismael, right?
Yes.
Okay, and did you ever mention your brother Daniel Palomino to the 911 dispatcher?
No.
All right, thank you. Nothing further.
Ladies and gentlemen, the trial's going a lot faster than even counsel are anticipating, so I'm just going to go ahead and make an executive decision since I get paid the big bucks and send you home early today. Hopefully the Padres will at least get a hit tonight. So think nothing but good thoughts. We'll see you outside the door at 9:30 tomorrow morning, 9:30.
That's Craig.
Hey, Mr. Winder, this is Blaine Bowman calling from the DA's office.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. How are you today?
As well as be expected, I guess.
You got a lot on your shoulders right now.
So if we go to trial and the evidence comes up positive and all this other stuff and she's convicted, are we still looking for the same time served and everything?
She's not looking at any more time. We can't punish people for wanting to go to trial. If they want a jury trial, then we'll just rack 12 jurors and put on the evidence, and I think we have a strong case. But, you know, anything could happen when you go to a jury trial.
She's just trying to get off scot-free, and it just frustrates me to hear it.
Yeah, I understand that.
When you saw Daniel, what was he wearing?
My brother?
Yes.
He was wearing the black Pendleton.
And did you go out with your brother?
Yes, we did.
Where did you go?
We took off in his El Camino. He has a nice little classic El Camino. We went to some friend of his.
What were you drinking?
I was drinking tall cans of 24 ounces of beer that were on sale, 99 cents.
How many did you have?
I had like 3 of them.
Who threw the first punch?
He did.
Where did he hit you?
My chin.
How was the fight inside your mother's house?
It was all verbal. We were just talking, excuse my cussing, but we were just talking to each other big time in there.
What happened when the police arrived?
I was talking to the officers too.
Once he arrested you, what did he do? Did he put you in handcuffs? What happened?
He told me, I'm going to call your parole officer. And I told him, go ahead, call him. And he did. Yes, he did. And he arrested me.
Did you know what was in your brother's jacket?
Hell no, I didn't know.
Do you remember him pulling something out of the jacket?
Yes, I do.
Did he say anything when he pulled the baggie out?
Yes, he did. He says, he just looked at me, went like this, like, what's this? And then I looked at it and I go, oh, I forgot about that.
Did you roll your eyes or did you do any gesture?
Yeah, I went like, what? You know, I was totally surprised.
When you said I forgot about that, what did you mean?
I mean, I forgot that was my brother's jacket and that I know that he's been using drugs, so who else?
Why didn't you tell the officer that it was your brother's jacket? You didn't know about it.
Come on, man, he's gonna believe me. Me being on parole and stuff, I didn't feel like snitching on my brother either, you know?
I have nothing further.
Have you used methamphetamine before?
No, I never used drugs.
You've never used drugs?
Never.
Never in your whole life?
When I was a little kid, I did used to sniff paint.
You just told this jury that you've never done drugs in your life,
Yes.
correct? You were previously convicted of attempted aggravated mayhem back in 1997, is that right?
Yes.
And you remember speaking to a probation officer after you were convicted of that crime?
Yeah, she helped me out a lot, the probation officer. She's the one that figured it out that I had an anger management problem due to the fact that I had an abusive father since I was a little kid.
Okay, well, all right, that's
I remember.
Okay, so she wouldn't lie about anything she'd put in her probation report, would she?
Yes, she wouldn't.
All right. In a report, she states that you admitted to her that you were a heroin user.
Yeah, I told her everything. I told her everything.
Okay.
I felt remorse.
You have done drugs in your life, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've done heroin too, haven't you?
No, I haven't done heroin.
Okay. Well, you just admitted that you've done heroin in the past, didn't you?
No.
Okay, you told the probation officer that you did heroin in the past,
I told her
correct?
a lot of things.
You told her you did methamphetamine too?
I told her meth too, everything. I told her all kinds of drugs.
Mr. Palomino, were you telling that probation officer the truth?
I was telling her all that because I wanted treatment, any kind of treatment that I can get when I was going to prison.
And you were lying. Is that what you're telling this jury today?
Yes.
Okay. When the officer pulled that methamphetamine out of that Pendleton and said, "What's this?" you said, "Oh, I forgot about that," right?
Yes, I did.
And what was it that you forgot about?
About that jacket wasn't mine, and that was my brother's dope, you know.
Okay, so you knew the dope was there, didn't you?
No, I didn't know the dope was there.
Okay, then how could you forget about something you never knew to begin with?
Because I know he uses dope.
Well, on direct examination, you said, "I forgot that it was my brother's jacket."
Yes.
How could you forget that it was your brother's jacket?
Yeah, because stupid, you know. Just everything happened so quick, you know. Like, I go like, what's stupid? I mean, why even ask for that jacket?
Well, you said that you didn't think the officer would believe you, did you?
Yes, I didn't. He wouldn't believe me.
Okay, well, this officer treated you with the utmost respect during your entire contact with him, didn't you? Didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And every time he asked you a question, your response was, and I'm just quoting, was, "You."
Yes.
And then you even threatened this officer by telling this officer, quote, "I'm going to kick your ass."
Yes, I did.
And
because I was just so mad.
You weren't mad at this officer, were you?
No, not
Okay.
at first I was, but then I wasn't no more because he was being cool.
So he was being cool with you?
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be the other kind of officers that get you and throw you on the floor and ask questions later.
None of that happened,
Yeah,
right?
none of that happened.
Thank you. I have nothing further. And he said, I've never done drugs in my life. I looked in his probation report on his last case. He told the probation officer that he was a heroin user. So I asked him, "Have you ever done heroin?" "Nope, never done heroin." "Well, did you tell the probation officer?" "Oh, yeah, I told her I did heroin, methamphetamine."
I'm a liar.
Pumping,
you know. I'm a liar.
So you were lying then? He goes, "Oh, yeah, I was just lying to get anger management treatment."
Why he is not here, I don't know. The information I have from the family is that he left on Friday at about 3 in the morning and they haven't seen him since.
The failure of the defendant's brother to appear is no big shock to me. And we have a case here where we have the defendant's brother who does not have the type of criminal record that the defendant has. As the court knows, the defendant has a strike. He's looking at twice the amount of time that a normal person would be looking at. On the other hand, we have his brother who has no strikes whatsoever, and he's one to come in here and take the fall.
The question is, why isn't he here? He's ordered to be here, and he obviously knows how important this is to his brother. We'll try and get a hard copy warrant into the system this afternoon. Ms. Yonan, it's been represented that you have cajoled or otherwise acquired Mr. Daniel Palomino. Is that correct?
He is here, Your Honor. I did not cajole him or get him here, but he's here.
All right, let's get the jury.
You do solemnly state that the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes. Please have a seat, sir.
Did you get into a fight with your brother outside of your mom's house?
Yes, I did.
Well, before the fight started, what were you wearing?
I was wearing a jacket and a tank top, a white tank top.
Can you describe the jacket?
Okay, the jacket is it's a big flannel.
Like a Pendleton?
Yes.
And that's your jacket?
Yes, it is mine.
What was inside the jacket?
Inside the jacket, I had a cassette and a little bag of methamphetamine.
And was that your methamphetamine?
Yes, it was.
How often do you use methamphetamine?
Not very often. When I'm drinking, I use it to sober up quick.
Are you lying to protect him?
No, I'm not.
And you understand that what you're saying can be used against you, correct?
It's the truth.
You were supposed to be here in court yesterday, weren't you?
Yes.
And you didn't show up, did you?
I forgot. I was the weekend. I was drinking. And I was pretty much in a hangover yesterday. I was just knocked out.
You were so hungover yesterday that you couldn't come to court?
I just forgot. I just totally forgot. I mean, I wanted to be here because I know that what I'm saying is true, because, I mean, I don't want him to get convicted for something that I did.
Sir, you say that you do methamphetamine, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to show you what's been marked. This People's Exhibit 1. You don't have to touch it. I'm just going to show it to you. Do you see what's in this little package here?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is methamphetamine.
Okay. Now, you're telling this jury that this belonged to you, is that right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, where'd you buy it?
I had bought it right there in that house that somebody had pulled up. A friend of hers had pulled up.
Friend of whose?
Of Sonia's, with the house that we were at.
How did you learn that someone had pulled up outside the house?
Because the ladies are outside, and so I'm following them, and I'm kicking back outside with him. A homie pulls up, and I'm talking to him, and right there, the transaction happened.
Okay, but it was your plan when you got the methamphetamine to share it with your brother, is that right?
Oh, no, I wasn't sharing with the ladies.
Okay, so you were going to go up with the methamphetamine. So, okay, look, I have methamphetamine. We're going to have a big party, but Ismail, you got to stay outside, because I'm going to share with everybody else but you. Is that what your plan was?
Well, I mean, yes, in a way, because it wasn't that much for all of us, you know.
Okay, but I mean, he's your brother. You didn't want to share with him, huh?
It doesn't matter if he's my brother or not. I want to have fun with the ladies, and I'm going to do it with them.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
We now have a judicial confession by Danny Palomino that dope is his.
Yeah, that's another argument. Who do you suppose would own that dope if we were charging this brother with possession of it? Which might happen after today's testimony.
Now, I guess we're going to have to wait and see if we want to charge Danny Palomino with possession.
That's always tough, because you don't know if it's truly his dope, he's telling the truth, or he's committing perjury and lying to get his brother off.
All right. So he's guilty of a crime, right?
He's guilty of some crime.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You've all heard the expression, blood runs thicker than water. Well, in the Palomino family, blood runs awfully thick. Let's talk about the charges that Mr. Ismail Palomino is facing in his case. He's charged with one count and one count only, and that is just possession of methamphetamine. What did he say when the officer pulled it out of his Pendleton? He said, "Oh, I forgot about that." And just like when I was questioned, you can't forget something you never knew about. If you don't know about something, you can't forget about it. It's just simple common sense. The people have met their burden. We've proven all these elements beyond a reasonable doubt, and I ask you to return a guilty verdict on that one count. Thank you.
I have an illustration. I asked you to forgive me just a little bit because it has to do with a football analogy. The people have the burden of proof, and it's like the burden of proof is the football that they have to carry down the field all the way to guilty. They start over here with Mr. Palomino presumed innocent. Did Mr. Bowman carry the ball all the way over to guilty? Mr. Bowman doesn't get to pass the ball off to me at any point. He has the burden. And that's how basically the presumption of innocence and beyond a reasonable doubt work. Don't let him shift the burden to the defense. Let's just look at the facts of what he actually said to the police officer. He rolls his eyes when confronted with the baggie and says, "Oh, I forgot about that." What he didn't say was, "Oh, I forgot about my drugs." "Oh, I forgot that there was methamphetamine in that jacket." "Oh, I forgot about that" can mean a lot of different things. And the prosecutor wants you to believe that it only means one thing. "Oh, I forgot about my drugs." That's not what he said. It is not Ismail's burden to prove to you that the jacket belongs to Daniel and not his. They failed to meet their burden, and I'm asking you to do the just thing and find Ismail not guilty. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bowman. Thank you, Your Honor. Defense counsel used an analogy that it was like a football field, that I guess I'm the offense. I have to carry the ball and get it across the goal line. And if I'm the offense, I guess in this case, the Palominos would be the defense. You have Ismail Palomino, you have Daniel Palomino, you have Perla Palomino acting as the defense. And you've seen football, I mean, you see that the defense huddles up beforehand, comes up with a plan. In this case, that's what they apparently did. If there were a referee on this field that was up here, that playing field would be littered with penalty flags. Throw a flag for unnecessary roughness. This whole thing started with this fight. Or throw a flag for too many players on the field. There are so many players on the field they can't get their story straight. The problem is we have a family, the Palominos here, who are circling the wagons and trying to tackle me, I guess, using a defense analogy, as I'm running with this ball, attempting to get to the end zone. if you believe everything that Perla Palomino said, if you believe everything that Daniel Palomino said, and if you believe everything that this defendant, Ismael Palomino, said in this courtroom, I urge you to return a verdict of not guilty. Because if everything they say is true, this man is wrongfully accused and he should walk out that door. The defendant, Ismael Palomino, did in fact possess methamphetamine, and I ask you to return a verdict that reflects that. Thank you.
Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
I have on my hand a change of plea form. It has some boxes on it with the initials RK. It's signed on the back, Renee Kayser. You haven't had any drugs or alcohol in the last 24 hours that would prevent you from understanding what's going on in court today?
Yes. I mean, pardon?
Have you had any drugs or alcohol in the last 24 hours that would prevent you from understanding what's going on in court today?
No.
All right. How do you plead the charge in count 1 that on July 10, 2001, you violated Penal Code Section 192C3? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
All right, I'll accept your guilty plea and your admission. The maximum penalty in your plea is 4 years in state prison, a $10,000 fine. Do you understand those are the maximum penalties?
Yes.
We went to court this morning and she pled guilty, believe it or not. So,
Thank God.
yeah, so there won't be a trial.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, you don't have to go through the pain of the trial, too, so
Yeah.
that's what's important as well.
Very important.
What I need to tell you is the sentencing is going to be on January 4th. It's not a case I think is appropriate for probation, but I have to warn you, you know, as I told you at the beginning, she could get probation.
Juror number 7, I understand you got the most votes, and you've reached a verdict. Is that correct? All right, if you'd hand that to my bailiff. All right, the verdict form is properly executed. Peggy, please recite the verdict for the record.
The people of the state of California, plaintiff versus Ismael Gamino Palomino, defendant. We, the jury in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Ismael Gamino Palomino, not guilty of the crime of possession of a controlled substance in violation of Health and Safety Code Section 11377, Parent A, as charged in count 1 of the information. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, was this and is this your verdict as read? Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of your fellow citizens in the Superior Court, I want to thank you for your attention to this case. The verdict will be entered as read. You're now formally discharged. Have a good day and check in with the jury commissioner.
What'd you guys think? Did you think they were lying? Or?
Yes. We didn't believe any of them.
You did not lose.
Oh, well, I mean, we don't lose cases. I mean, our job is to present the evidence to you folks, and, you know, if jurors find we haven't proven our case beyond a reasonable doubt, I don't see it as a loss. It's just the way the justice system works. Palomino came back not guilty.
Okay.
And there's no sentencing date, obviously.
Obviously.
So,
Not guilty.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Hey.
Hi, Blaine.
Palomino verdict came back.
I'm on the edge of my chair.
Not guilty. One of the jurors said, you didn't lose this case. I said, we never lose our case.
That's right.
As long as the jury, you know,
That's
hears
right.
the evidence, and, you know, if they didn't find them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, we haven't lost. That's how the system works. So, yeah.
So I put this in the win column for you? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Questions, I mean, what should we do about Danny?
Is he in prison?
No. He's walking the hallway.
I thought he was a parolee.
He was a parolee.
I mean, he admits he possessed dope, right?
Yeah. And I showed him the dope and said, is this your dope? He said, yeah, that's my dope. And he knew it was methamphetamine, so I think we should just charge him.
Item 1, Palomino.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy District Attorney Blaine Bowman for the people.
The court does accept the plea of not guilty entered into by Mr. Palomino. We'll appoint counsel to represent him.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Based on your phone call last night, Mr. Winder, we sent an investigator out. We interviewed the bartender at that VFW post, and it turned out she was out drinking on New Year's Eve. I subpoenaed that bartender. She's going to be here in court today because one of the conditions of her release was that she abstained from the use of alcohol. So the question is she going to get probation or prison? Now that's where all of you come in because you get to speak. And have you thought about what you're going to say?
No, it's all going to come from my head.
Okay. Just tell the judge how this has affected your life. Tell the judge what you think the appropriate sentence should be.
I have a feeling I'm going to get up there and, you know, yeah. I'm not too happy about the whole justice system of what she's getting, so.
Right. It's not right.
If she gets let off, there's not a consequence for her.
It doesn't seem fair, and I understand how you feel right now. If we get a prison sentence, I would be very happy, you know, from a legal standpoint. I know that's not going to give you any sense of satisfaction, but I think we need to focus on convincing the judge that probation in this case is not appropriate. It seems to me in a lot of these sentencings that it's all about the defendant. It's all about Renee Kayser, and it's not. It's about Andrew, you know? And I want you guys to make that clear to the judge.
Captain Yard, Charles Duff, on behalf of Mrs. Kayser.
Good afternoon, our Deputy Attorney Blaine Bowman for the people.
All right, Mr. Duff, please proceed.
I want to start out by saying to the court, I can't even conceive of the pain and the suffering and the emotions felt by the family of the victim. Anyone that says they could is wrong. You'd have to be in that position, I think, to feel the sorrow and the pain that they must have suffered. As to Mrs. Kayser herself, she's 48 years of age. She has absolutely no record. No history of alcohol or substance abuse, no history of bad or reckless driving. Up to now, she's been a model citizen, and she has told me on a number of occasions she doesn't think she wants to exist anymore. She's told me if she could go back and change places with Andrew, she would. She's got to live the rest of her life knowing that she killed this young man. Thank you.
Renee Kayser is my sister, and she has been a model citizen. I don't care if she lives to be 90 years old. She will be sad every day, the rest of her life. Our family, our whole family, grieves for your boy, and I'm so sorry. We all feel horrible about it. And not just my sister grieve, but we all grieve. Our family grieves just as much, if not more, than your family because we all feel the guilt. I plead beg for your lenience because I feel that incarcerating her will do nothing but harm.
Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
Your Honor, at the time this plea was entered into, I made it very clear to the court and defense counsel and the defendant that the people don't expect her to receive any benefit for pleading at the stage of the case in which she did. The defendant wanted to have this case put over for sentencing after the holidays. During this time, Ms. Kayser was supposed to abstain from drinking alcohol. And as it turns out, on New Year's Eve, she was out drinking at the VFW Lodge in Poway. And I have the bartender here, Marcia Slusher. She personally served Ms. Kayser 2 drinks on New Year's Eve of this year. She just doesn't get it. The court needs to send her to prison for a long time, the upper term of 4 years, to send a message to her that if she drinks and drives and kills somebody, that there are going to be harsh consequences. And for this court to understand the effect it's had on the family, the victim's family members would like to address the court at this time with the court's permission.
Sure.
I was awakened by the ringing of the phone. My phone has rang like this several times before. I've come to know when it's delivering bad news. And when I answered, instead of a sorrowful voice, I listened to a hysterical one. My sister was crying and frantic. She was telling me that my nephew had been hit by a car. I drove to Poway, and as I passed the scene, all I saw, Your Honor, was my Andrew's shoes in the road. I went to the nearest hospital, which was the same hospital that Andrew was born at. When I pulled into the emergency room parking lot, I saw my brother-in-law, Craig. One look at his face, and it told me Andrew was dead. I didn't understand, and I didn't believe it until I saw him on the gurney. He was broken up. The bones were torn of the skin of his legs. His head was caved in from where he hit the windshield. As I sat there holding his hand, saying my goodbye, I remember the boy. I was the one that could make him smile as a baby. I used to dance with him on my hip. I used to put him to sleep. He would suck on my pinky and stare into my eyes until he fell asleep. These were the memories going through my mind as I held his hand, soft, innocent hand. It was cold to the touch. He was dead. This is the memory you gave me. You had a choice. You chose how to live your life, how to enjoy your life. Andrew had no choice. He was just trying to get home. Sorry. There's no justifying what happened that night. You struck and murdered a child with your car. You murdered Andrew, and you murdered our hopes and dreams. That's all I have to say on it.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Craig Winder. Oh, it's tough. Oh.
Just take your time.
He's a good part of my life. Got nobody to wrestle with, play with anymore. No one to go fishing, hunting with. I mean, after it happened, it took me a month before I could even go back to work. And I had just tons of support, but it just was hard for me to function. And even afterwards, it took me several weeks to try and get back on track. I don't want to see anybody go through what I'm going through. And it was real tough at Christmas. Because I used to love just to go out shopping, and it's like, I just grew and Brandon say, hey, I think he'd like that. And I can't do that anymore. I'll never see my grandkids. I'll never see, I'm 45 years old myself. So when Andrew was old, 13, I'm never going to see grandkids. I'm never going to see his kids, or their grandkids. That was taken from me. And it amazes me is, if that's all she's getting is 4 years at the most you could get for running over a 13-year-old kid. And a couple of drinks isn't worth a human life. And that's, especially a 13-year-old boy. Guess that's about it.
These types of crimes are very difficult because on one hand you have the ultimate consequence of a criminal act, the death of another person. On the other hand, you have a person who led a law-abiding life. I believe you are remorseful, and I believe if you could take that day back, you would. I believe that sincerely, and I imagine that the Winder family believes that as well. But the problem is that we can't take that day back, and here we are. And so I'm going to impose the upper term of 4 years. All right.
Isn't enough in my eyes, but 100 years, it's not going to change the thing. I can't bring Andrew back. She can't bring Andrew back. I feel sorry for her family, not as much as I feel for mine, but because I'm the one that's got the loss. I'll never see Andrew again, except in memories.
4 years doesn't seem like much to you, but it's the most we could get, so I'm glad we got it.
Yeah, at least they have somebody in 4 years.